before we get into our news segment, I gotta pull this up because it's true. This is part of our main topic of things to come up because, damn, once again, it's true. So Michael put up a post yesterday, and people, let's rewind. So
Mhm.
first off, people are up in arms about Mystique.
Hmm.
That's because you don't know. Number one, and it
Mhm.
shows you don't know. I can every time I see
Obviously.
somebody crying about it, I can hear Lady Mandalore in the back. Oh, my sweet summer child, you need to sit the fuck down.
That's the
Sit
next thing she
down,
gonna say.
shut up. You know, this is
Mhm.
something that was set back in the 80s that Chris Claremont wanted to do with this character and couldn't do because of the
Mhm.
Comic Codes Authority. Comic
Hmm.
Codes Authority did a lot of stuff that held back a lot of really, really good content that people just weren't ready for. You know,
They weren't shit.
Mhm.
That's all I gotta say.
they that it was that they definitely weren't
They
shit.
wasn't shit.
You
Agreed.
know, blood
Yep.
splatters were like painted black or brown because they were scared to show blood, or
Yep.
things were implied, whether it was in sexual or violence in nature.
Hmm.
But poop's
Mhm.
okay? Because that's what
But
I'm thinking
yeah,
of
but
with a
yeah,
brown
Yeah,
splatter. But
but
okay.
I
human
see
Okay.
a
excrement,
turd.
human excrement
I'm
is okay.
exactly. So
I'm just
this
asking the question.
this is a message by our very own Black Gay Comic Geek about the Comics Code Authority. Take a listen.
Oh, we got the video ready.
Oh yeah, baby. Oops, sound. Sound check.
With Black Gay Comic Geek. Welcome to my safe haven. If you're coming across this video, be sure to watch, like, share, comment, interact for the all gay rhythm. To understand the Comics Code of Authority and why it was created, we need to jump back a little bit more in history to about 1947. During that time, the government was fighting a Cold War, and they were going after anyone that they deemed a communist, and also they were going after anyone that worked in government that identified as queer or at that time homosexual. About 10,000 homosexual men and women lost their jobs, and a lot of people unalived themselves during that time because they lost their livelihoods. That period of time was called the Lavender Scare, and as a matter of fact, there's a show that I talked about on here, currently out on Paramount Plus, that deals with that point in history called Fellow Travelers. I definitely recommend you check it out. And in addition to that, during this time, horror, crime, and romance comics were very popular. Of course, I'm not going to go through everything. This is like a brief synopsis of what was going on in the world and what allowed the creation of the Comics Code of Authority. But then you enter Frederick Wortham's Seduction of the Innocent, where he talked about how reading comic books during that time will make kids more prone to violence. Reading comic books will make kids more illiterate because they're reading that instead of quote unquote real literature. Reading comic books because he talked about Batman and Robin, how they're queer and gay in comics, and how that's a bad influence on kids, and how reading Batman would make kids grow up to be homosexual. You know how they say history repeats itself. It's the very same narrative that the right wing tried to do and still tries to do when it comes to video games, saying, oh, playing video games like Mortal Kombat, et cetera, it's going to make kids become violent and become criminals. So because of that, cities across America started to introduce bans on comic books, and people across America will participate in comic book burning ceremonies. Sound familiar? This whole thing took a huge hit to the comic book industry, and so the leaders in the comic book industry got together themselves and created what was called the Comics Code of Authority. The Comics Code of Authority basically told parents that if you see this seal on any comic book, you could trust that it went through a set of rigorous rules and censorships that weren't allowed in the books. Like, for example, no comic magazine shall use the words horror or terror in its title. Policemen, judges, government officials, and respected institutions shall never be presented in a way as to create disrespect for established authority. In every instance, good shall triumph over evil and the criminal punished for his misdeeds. Schemes dealing with or instruments associated with the Walking Dead, torture, vampires and vampirism, ghouls, cannibalism, and werewolfism are prohibited. And of course, sex perversion or any inference to the same is strictly forbidden. And so this was the comic book industry's way of reassuring the public and, of course, saving their industry with what's kind of similar to what was already going on in the film industry with what's called the Hays Code. And the Hays Code, that's another video entirely, but a brief synopsis is it's a bunch of rules that the motion picture industry had to abide by, and it was before the creation of the MPAA rating system. And one of the rules in the Hays Code was showing scenes of white slavery. That was forbidden, but you could show black people as slaves, and any sexual relations between different races were also restricted. And so when I say things like Chris Claremont wanted Mystique to be Nightcrawler's father and Destiny to be his mother back in the 80s, but he wasn't allowed to because of the Comics Code of Authority, this is what I mean. When I say he wanted Kitty Pryde to be bisexual, but wasn't allowed to because of the Comics Code of Authority, this is what I mean. And even though the Comics Code of Authority started to lose its power as the decades passed by and society started to evolve and change, it didn't officially become defunct until about 2010. Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Hopefully you made it to the end of this video. Did you know about this history? Again, be sure to like, share, comment, interact for the All Gay Real. What is
that,
Nice.
my friend?
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if you were going to get it all in to tell all the information. I was like, please don't cut off. Please don't cut off. Please don't cut off.
This man gave an entire educational lesson in less than 30 seconds. I was like,
because we know these social media sites, they can be a little weird.
yeah, they can.
A little weird.
They give you they limit you on time and everything. So that's why I hate Facebook.
They limit you on time. They don't show your videos. This is something I deal with constantly. They don't show my videos to my own follow. I get messages constantly, almost daily. Oh, I haven't seen you on my page for like months. And I'm like, well, I post almost every day, so I don't know what to tell you. Like,
yeah.
So and it kind of gets discouraging when you're constantly getting messages like that. Or I have 120,000 followers on TikTok. I posted a video today, hasn't even hit 1,000 views yet, which considering my follower count, that's like impossible statistically speaking. But like, it can get discouraging, but it's like I have to realize. And I kind of started to get to the point that I just need to focus on what I can control. What I can control is the message that I can put out and the content that I put out and the people and things that I interact with. But what I can't control is the algorithm. Like that's just
as we say in this ship, on this boat, we always say, fuck the algorithm. The message will get out. We have to get it out. Whether you're whatever side you're supporting. And hopefully it's the right side of history. That message get out. And most of the time when you're on the right side of history, it's when it gets dampened. It's when it gets held back. It's when it gets muted or doesn't get seen or gets shadow banned. So you, good sir, thank you. For being on that right side of history, being on that right side of the battle of just saying, fuck everything. I'm going to speak the truth, my truth, and the truth that need to be heard.
Yeah, I try. Because even like I said, the video I posted today, I'm like, it was a good video. Like, why is it not hitting? Like,
it's not you, boo. It's not you.
Oh yeah, it's not you.
We come across that all the time. So
Instagram sat there and said, education block.
Nope. Yeah. Telling the truth. Being honest, fact checking. What?
Yeah, I mean, what's going on right now with the people on TikTok talking about Palestine? Free Palestine.
Oh yeah.
Their videos are getting blocked. They're
left,
right, and center. Yep.
Yeah, like it's crazy.
But you see a BBL in a gum wrapper all over.
Every 5 seconds.
Look, I sat up there. I'm like, be black blocked. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like I can see niggas' whole dick print on the internet. That's perfectly fine. Granted, as a gay man, get like let me zoom in. But at the same time, it's like,
but
how is that allowed? But you're talking about free Palestine, people getting murdered, and this is being community. This is a community guidelines violation. Like, explain it to me. Explain it to me.
Make it make sense.
Yeah, make it make sense. It doesn't make any sense.
So
the math is not mathing.
Exactly. No. So we'll be getting more later in the show. We'll be talking more about the evolution of comic book characters. This is how the Comics Code of Authority fits into that narrative and how they change things. On the covers, Static had dealt with some shit, when in his first run, dealt with some stuff. It's endless. It's absolutely endless. But before we get into all the good stuff like that, we got a little bit of it.